Exist I do not. Exist I do not. Be I am therefore certainty of confusion, confusion of responsibility. This is the story about a man. It begins like all life, at birth. I can remember now that you ask a fair bit about my past. My first day at school, I remember the apprehension of saying hello. I was so shy, I did not introduce myself to a single person. I spent the first week unsocial. I was quite happy with my life. I had 2 parents that loved me and felt amply entertained. Yet, I don't tend to remember the first part as much as when I focus on the first time someone called me fat. I was only 5 then, and the voice I heard sounded like a boy on a dare. I understood quickly that the other boy who labeled me probably didn't fully understand how much it hurt to hear empty, hollow unkindness in my life. There was no flooding of ambition, no direction my mind was pre-programmed to go. I was just harmed by someone who didn't like how I would pick up blades of grass off the play yard. These days I'm called a playard, which I can handle quite well in my noble age. I spent the next years learning, growing, and meeting with unwanted confrontation. I had spent so many years enjoying the fiction of superheroes and knights. I began to wonder why no hero would intervene, or why God had not helped me. God had helped me. Born to my mother, she became a small part of my life at school, and kept me going, reading and listening to stories of gods, iconic historical figures, and a range of elementary subjects. I eventually grew into meeting a friend. He cried in art class the first day at school. I panicked. I had made my first friend. No, wait. Just as quickly, I realized that this boy was crying in the same pain I had known. At least, that is what it sounded like to me. I was by no means a smooth or professional friend when I tried to ease his anxiety. I remember he was from England, and now that I think about it, he had moved in part way through the year. Take a child from a class where his painting skills were so weak that he had to move from his home, and then his first moment in a new school, a new classroom, and new people. Well, I think I made something up about my friend. I can remember skating, road hockey, make-believe, and video games were my favorite. This guy became my best friend in the entire world. He was the first person to ever show me Japanese animation, the first being Princess Mononoke. Eventually, I would grow to share experiences playing and socializing with my friend. I started to become visually invested in moving pictures. I am movies growing up, animation, art, interactive media, sounds became a fascination later in life. I lost touch with that friend. He told me that he didn't want to be friends anymore. I was 11 when this happened, and I can remember through the pain of rejection telling him that he was making a big mistake. He was in so much pain too, and it made me confront the friends that had told him to do it in the first place. I realized that these people thought themselves better, superior, and we exchanged a match of 4 square. It's a game played with a ball. It hurt my pride, my ego, and my confidence when I lost that game. I asked my friend one last time if certainty was his answer. I rarely, never saw him again. I came to meet and associate with people who were subjectively labeled and pushed aside as different from the norm. I remember liking these people, for the most part. I began to find my identity with these strangers found friends. I was no longer afraid to speak, act, or think because I knew that only God could judge me. By the age of 13, I was an atheist. By the age of 16, I was agnostic. More labels to contain, isolate, and segregate human beings. It was on my screen. Everyday signals of the things I would not enjoy personally about the lifetime I shared with people on earth. Whether it was an overstimulated sense of self-importance or selfish exclusivity, I could no longer tell you. My life has changed dramatically since the accident. I realized that trying to argue with the pieces of information I did not like about myself, others, what others thought of me, and what I thought of me is a waste of time. Live. Life. Love. Be. Your life will be wasted trying to change others with words. Let the friends afraid, but but still cheering, take responsibility to tell your life story. You will change this world so much if you believe in yourself. You know what feels right, so do it. Be a path maker. Fight injustice. If your life right now is out of balance, it is your right to balance it. If you thirst for more freedom, then we may have just grown closer as friends. Life is a reflection of identity found real in the experience of self-reference. I have lost ambition since the accident. I am not the same person, but as the old saying goes, I would not change a thing. I love art. I love to communicate with myself through art. Just as quickly as I receive the signals of poetry, I want to respond with my own critique, perspective, or response. It's a conditional relationship of heart, mind, and soul. Instead, now I see the walls. I see the plans. I no longer can communicate with this deep passion because I am alarmed by the realities of survival. I see a culture of consumption. An all-consuming structure will eventually die with less than it started with. But it's quite silly because just by communicating a productive idea like, we need to be productive, am I being productive? Well, if I'm the first person or team, then well, yes. But to repeat, to re-amplify signals is entirely cost. So, how do we be productive in a time, my time, where there is metaphorically a minefield of ways to spend, consume, or buy? Think about what it took to bring you here. How many years does it seem like? Are you densely overpopulated in a physical space slowly dividing into a life not less and less worth living? Are there natural disasters destroying the homes and lives of people, leaving resources, time, energy, and families in ruin? Think radically about possibility. Imagine the most unimaginable and believe in the unimaginable. Existence is forever. There will always be existence, even in the gravest notions of death. So now I am charged with the responsibility to imagine, test, and double-check everything, to design buildings, houses, and any other structures to withstand the test of time, imaginable forever. Earth or any other planet of life has the potential to sustain a space for the least cost. Once the foundation of protection, survivability, and life are set, then I will feel the wealth of love for the arts enter my soul again. It will never be as good as I would have hoped, personally, but then again, to err is to be human. I can't watch my loved ones as they come to no longer recognize me. Each day spent wishing and praying to feel like I can look into their eyes and tell them the news that enriches the memory of the time we shared together. The stories I want to tell my nieces, nephews, and their children of the responsibilities and skeleton plans of the future. Love the time we share, time in good health, and I can help them when they are sick. I cannot blame this on my father. I cannot ask my mother for any more. I am the only entity that can provide myself with happiness and future. I see the framework of a place of exponential scientific technological growth, spiritual awakening, and basic survival. I do not experience or connect with the fundamental idea that the place I am from was connected to this idea of renewable energy sources, recycling, and waste management. This is why I'm here, and it saddens me to leave behind a career in self-awakening. I do it because it is right. I know what I have not done, what I have done in improper conscience. I will do what is right, and more because this life is not solely for any one thing save that. I like The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. It may very well be one of the greatest games of all time. I like it because it seems to reflect a model or perspective on life and time. Lots of things we can do, but as a child we open doors to dungeons, challenges, and learning. I could go into the nitty-gritty here, but I mean to say I like it best because I think it was the first time I ever saw a game over screen. Interesting. 4-letter word, game. And when you have made enough mistakes, damage from illegal or incorrect inputs, you die. Kind of interesting when you compare that to life. Is life a self-contained experience like a video game? When we make enough mistakes, we just sort of have to accept there is no continue. Wait a second. Would you like to continue? Yes or no? Hilarious! It seems to taunt you. You've been ejected from the experience, but it gives you an option to re-enter or disconnect completely, which makes life very much unlike video games. Somehow, you get the feeling these developers were trying to tell you something. Maybe they are trying to tell you mistakes will happen and not to get discouraged. Maybe they are trying to tell you that just by playing a video game, you're actually in a second lifetime. Your past life ended in judgment, and now you're eternally entangled with the reality that the reason why you're here is because you're already dead as dead, you fuck up. LOL. Just kidding. I think what they are actually trying to tell you is that we are a part of a culture that has come from a great deal of trial and error. Finding what works, what teaches, and what entertains, etc. This is why I love video games. So much depth. It's interactive, reactive, and quality art. Random thought. The idea of a single point of data becoming a complex potential. Like a starting point somewhere, and then when you hit go, bam! Your entire existence is analyzed, deconstructed, and then reconstructed to include the seemingly simple point of data. Zelda, Mario, Metroid, symbolic mascots, representatives of the different perspectives of life and video games. Some of my least favorite video games sent me messages that I wasn't very good and can make me feel less about myself. My favorite kinds would challenge me, dare me to push further, and try to simulate that winning run. Don't worry, because not everything is made for your enjoyment. Knowing that there are many things I have never tried, practiced, and was never supposed to even touch allows me to better identify my path to a happy, fulfilling, and productive life. Feminist angle. Do not let anyone tell you how you feel. Your desires are your only guide sometimes, and not attempting may cause you more damage than friends or teachers realize. That being said, I have faith in my world.